What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the garage, and we've got a nice crowd going up in here already. Let me start off by saying happy Thanksgiving to everybody here in the United States and anywhere else that celebrates anything on this random Thursday in a November. Yeah, you know what it is, what it is. Might light a little bit bright. Let me dial that down a little bit. That's a lot better. Okay, so welcome back again, as usual, to the number one live tuning show that happens on Thursday nights at 8 Eastern. That's shot in Pennsylvania. And we got a lot of familiar faces in here, as always. We are, okay, couple house cleaning things, blah, blah, blah. We're getting ready to do it. We're going to do a drawing. In fact, we're giving away 2 Smoke Monster hoodies tonight, so make sure and stick around. You got to be present to win that. We'll start that drawing here in about 5 minutes. What else we've got going on? Housekeeping. Oh yeah, it's Black Friday, so I mean it's 20% off of merch and stuff off the website. So the code it should be GRG. There you go. Go over to goatropegarage.com or go over to goatropegarage.com. Anything on the website like custom tunes, scanner layouts, and then anything on our Teespring site, which is our merch where we get the shirts and stuff like that, 20% off. I think I put it in for 20% off. Honestly, I don't make 20% on most of that stuff, so if it kicks it out, let me know. Should be good to go. But I mean, a little bit of Black Friday bullshit. Oops. Well, so much for this episode. We just got flagged. So, as you well already know, we are drinking 18-watt IPA from Single Cut. That is our drink of this minute. Been multiple drinks tonight. We're celebrating Thanksgiving. Awesome. Josh is going through the videos, getting ready to go tune his Capri. Capri. Well, Tommy, is I wish I could do more, and in fact, I'm going to, as I said, if you weren't here last Thursday night, we talked about the fact that we're going to be doing some live tuning sessions very soon where we go into generation-specific platforms. I'm going to get at least one of those done before the end of the year, where we'll set up a date. Keep your eyes peeled on the community tab. The easiest way to get there, go over to tuning101.com. That's the nice thing about this. Hold on a second. Let me shift some windows around here and do it like this, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. We'll drag this over here. So if we hold on, be patient. Boom. We pop this one open. Okay, so if you come over here, tuning101.com literally drops you right on the home screen. Check out the community tab right there. And then we've got stuff like this right here. As I said, I just posted this about an hour ago saying here, you can go out there if you're interested in any merch. And we'll get some more decals and stuff up. I think I'm pretty much sold out of decals. I have not restocked those in a while. But nonetheless, keep your eyes peeled on this. You should get a notification if you are a subscriber and you have notifications on. Make sure you have notifications on for this channel, because I will come in here and post something like, hey, we are going to do blah, 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 blah. We're going to do a video or a live show very soon where we go in depth on a certain platform, 3rd gen, 4th gen, 5th gen. We're going to go through the tuning process live so I can answer questions, etc. So do not miss your chance to join those live shows, because I'm really hoping to get out of having to do, I enjoy doing the paid classes, and they are a nice source of income, but honestly, I would like to be able to spread all of this knowledge out free, because that's been the whole purpose of doing this channel from the get-go, is to give all this knowledge out for free. Dirt Floor, happy Thanksgiving, brother. Andrew, happy Australian Thanksgiving, Black Friday. Happy Black Friday in Australia. Catan says, got my buddy's O2Z71 done. Had to unplug the MAF like I did on my GTO to get it into... Is it an E40 ECM, Catan, that was on? Because I'd be interesting to know if that is one of the platform that's an issue on. And by VE, are you talking about the primary or the secondary tune? And congratulations on tuning your first car that's not yours. That's awesome, man. Big shout out to you for going out there and tuning somebody else's vehicle. That's what I like to hear. How risky is it to OS switch with HP tuners? Auto GMC Envoy to an 06 manual SSR. So Biker Boy, on the 5th gen or the 4th gen platforms like the E38s and stuff like that, it's not that risky. It's a lot more risky on the earlier generation stuff, Gen 3, P01, P59, stuff like that. So you should be probably all right. And the nice thing about it is the 4th gen stuff, even if it fails during the flash process, it doesn't necessarily brick the ECM. If you have access to SPS and the VIN number for a vehicle, which you should if you're doing the right to get it over to like a manual setup, you can still generally rewrite that stuff. Oh, good Lord, WMR. Wide open exhaust bang. Wired to the cruise control button at the clutch pedal and not to the accelerator. Very interesting. Okay, so Super Slower Auto brings up a good point. Says, you guys, math inline had too many PIDs while I was logging, causing a lot of missed data up top. So specifically, you've got to look at the earlier generation platforms had a data cap that's a little bit slow for logging a lot of parameters. And the more parameters that you log, it'll automatically try and step those down. Sometimes what you'll see is that you'll actually have parameters disappear, and that's because you've hit the data cap. There's the specific parameters that are the broadcast parameters. Then there's a lot of parameters that are pulled parameters where you have to send a request out and then the data gets sent back from the ECM. And those eat up a lot of bandwidth. So whenever you can, try and get any of the broadcast parameters. I did a video on this a while back, but nonetheless, especially on the 3rd gens and even some of the 4th gen stuff, try to limit how many parameters that you're logging. Even if you have to go in and set up a parameter list for MAF and then a different parameter list for VE and stuff like that. So you want to, log the mandatory stuff, manifold air pressure, RPM, knock sensor or spark retard, time in advance, mass airflow in hertz. Just log the stuff that you're actually tuning on. Don't throw in all these other things on there because you don't really need to know things like throttle position, gear indication, all that other stuff. Keep it narrow. The narrower that your parameter list is, the higher data rate that you're going to get through. Dirt Floor's over here answering questions. Hey, Jerry, good to see you, brother. Richard Coleman, still nervous to tune my own. Can't have a truck down right now. Small, incremental steps. Richard, just get into it. Go in, look at the tune. Pull a log on the tune that's in there now. Try to focus on something that is not working properly and tune that small portion out. Your best bet is to put it into a mass airflow only tune and just kind of focus on that. Worst case scenario, you can always step back to the tune that it was running on beforehand. So don't be too afraid to get into it. And I'll be honest with you, if you've ever tuned a vehicle that was not controlled by an ECM, you would be surprised what these motors can handle. People do stupid stuff with carburetors and distributors. So GA Newbie says, like to see how to tune 130 pounds on an E38 ECM. It's all about the injector scaling, man. And unfortunately, that's just a little bit too much of an in-depth topic to get into on the live stream. And let me start this before I forget about this. And okay, watch the stream chat or the chat stream, whatever you want to call it. Brandon says the AEM 300300 uses a Bosch 4.9 LSU. It has a resistor. Don't worry about that. Any Bosch 4.9 will work with it. You probably won't even have to do a free air calibration on there. Going through MAF tune on my 2017 Silverado, I have one cell that seems to spike. Any thoughts on what might do that? Joshua, pay attention to the actual data in the graph. Don't look at the table so much, but look at the chart down below as you scrub through there, and make sure that that cell is not on some kind of transient cell or whenever you're getting out of dynamic, because that will cause weird spikes. Make sure that your wideband is actually reading that spike on that cell. There you go. Dirtfloor brings up a good point. Whenever you get into this, make sure to save several files. Small changes, lots of saves. Save a ton. Has a similar problem with channels dropping out of the GTO E40. The GTO E40 might still be a 250 bit per second ECM. Gen 4s, E38s, and stuff like that, getting into Gen 5s are 500 bits per second stuff. There you go. Tyler Rice says, Richard, many times you're just as well off, if not better, doing it yourself. Kyle can verify I had to email him about 50 times to fix other people that tune my car. Well, and the thing about a lot of that stuff that we're talking about, what Tyler's going on about, is that we have to go back through sometimes and try and fix a lot of things that guys hunt and peck at, and they will make changes to try to fix something, and it doesn't fix it. Well, they won't revert those changes, and so they'll keep on. They'll change this, change this, change this, change this. They'll go through the entire spectrum. Then they might actually find the solution. Most of the time they won't, because they've jacked up everything over here and you've just got a broken tune. And so a lot of times, Ted says, Jesus saves and backs up early. A lot of times what we have to do is actually step back, almost sometimes even back to a stock tune. It's easier to start from a stock tune and then take over where somebody else has really ruined some stuff. E40s is a bastard stepchild. Okay, so Into LS says, anyone with the E67 255 map limit wanting to run more boost in virtual volumetric efficiency, set the map values to linear, 265 and offset to 5 when using the GM3 bar, will get you 30 PSI when showing 254. So you're basically scaling that thing down. Barrel will be about 94, which you can't do anything about close, as it will just adjust the spark and fuel to suit new values. Well, and that's the thing about that. You can lie on that portion of it. The only issue is that whenever you lie on the boost side of it, you're also lying on the vacuum side of it. But it doesn't really matter so long as you dial it in properly. And it works even better on something that has pressure ratio, because even if it's not technically, you could lie and as I said, use a 6-bar map sensor on here and set it up as a 1-bar. It doesn't matter as long as you are dialing in the cells properly. You're just talking about resolution. So is a 15% lean VE table on the lower side on a stock car normal? No, Cole. You should not be 15% lean on the VE table on a stock car. If anything, generally on a stock car, you're going to be 5% to 10% rich. I have a 15 Camaro V6. My next upgrade is an HP tuner suite. After following Goat Garage for a while, I'm excited to get it. Car therapy, a lot of people are doing some very interesting stuff with the V6 Camaros. And in fact, I myself have owned one of the V6 Camaros. I can't remember. It was maybe a 14? 13. It was a 13 because I traded it in on a 2014 Silverado. Those V6 are very potent little motors. I'm a big fan of them. E38 07 6.2 liters tune speed density, did Big Mike 42 idle tune map. Now I'm getting an idle bump when rolling over 3 miles an hour, jumps to 1200 RPMs. Okay, so you're going to have a situation on Andy where your idle airflow is at this point, and then whenever you're getting out of the idle table, you're going into a new airflow table that is a lot higher and is causing that bump on there. So look at your idle airflow values, particularly if your tuned speed density. You probably need to look at the final airflow table for idle and smooth that thing out a little bit. Can the 70 mile an hour factory speed limiter on a 2017 Chevy Express be removed with a programmer? Can, yes, as long as it has access to the system that changes the systems, which HP Tuners does. But what you're going to be looking for is underneath system, you will have a drop down tab that will change what your limiter is based off of, calibration or sensor. Generally on the Gen 5s, you'll have to switch that, and then you'll have another box on the right that will show where your actual speed limiter is, that you can change that number up. I have SPS in MDI. Can I tune that SSR tune with my current VIN? That way I don't have to buy more credits. Probably not, Biker Boy, because most likely... No, you won't be able to, because the calibration on that VIN number is going to be for an automatic or manual, whatever it is now. And whatever you're switching to, since you're switching the transmission mode out, you'll have to find a different VIN on there. So you kind of get bit in the butt on that one, and that's what got me on the Silverado. Because I flashed it with the wrong one the first time out to go from automatic to manual, yada, yada, yada. Do those have rolling idle? I don't know if they have rolling idle so much. Yeah, they should be rolling idle. Also, look at the pulling rate on the PIDs. Correct. There's some that you do not need to be pulling at 10 hertz, yada yada. Like if you look here, let's just do this. We'll take a look real quick so you guys know what we're talking about, because that is one of the things that'll get you if you look at a bunch of parameters. So we got all our parameters loaded up here. If you right click on these and you look at the pulling intervals, you can see gear status, 1 second interval. Perfect. You don't need anything more than that. Probably the same. Well, this one is a half-second interval for trans. Engine RPM. This is 200 milliseconds. That's probably more than adequate for stuff like that. Now, you get into equivalence ratio commanded. You might want to drop this down to 20 hertz. You know, you can't change the serial ones on there, but timing advance, these are at 5 hertz. You might want to drop these down to about 20 hertz. There's no reason really to run any of these things at 10 hertz or 100 hertz, basically 100 times a second. But same ordeal. Like if you got temperatures on here, a lot of these temperatures, not worth logging these things faster than once a second. So engine oil pressure, like, man, that's twice a second. Your engine oil pressure is not shifting that much. Just be aware. And the more that these things are running fast, if you go in and look at your details, we're not connected really to anything right here. It will show you what your speed is. I don't know. Here. Tell you what. Yeah, unplug. There we go. I happen to have an ECM hooked up on the bench right now. We will connect to it live. So we go in here, we connect up, and generally there is a speed on here. Well, and this just says what protocol it is. The protocol is going to dictate the speed, but nonetheless, as I said, you can go through here and just move some of these down. Can't be live whenever you do that. Okay, let's go back. Boop, 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 boom. Is the bias table throwing off off the table so much I should unplug the IA-Tune to tune VE? Cole, you don't have to unplug the IAT to tune VE. I would generally leave the IAT intact because the IAT affects VE. It does not affect mass airflow because mass airflow is based off the mass. The air temperature changes your mass reading through the MAF. IATs are for volumetric efficiency. Now, that being said, that bias table shifts between IAT and ECT. You can switch that thing over to IAT sometimes and get better readings. But be aware, if you do a tune on IAT only and then go back in and add bias in there, sometimes whenever the engine warms up, it can cause some issues. WMR says, so I set up the serial to USB for my wideband. When I select EQ ratio, the parameter still reads out as AFR. Any idea why that may be? That is because your gauge is reading out as AFR. The serial signal matches your gauge, so change your gauge over to EQ. Is it bogging down all over the place, logging performance? Well, as I said, Ben, generally it will actually kick some parameters out, but it can cause, if you can get all the parameters to start logging from the get-go, and it starts hitting that cap, you will start missing data. The values in the math table on 2017 Silverado seem different than on other tunes. Is that a big deal, or does it just change what I'm seeing on the table? Doesn't matter, Joshua, as long as your table in the tune matches the table in your graph that you're using to tune the tune. So as long as, whatever is showing up on mass airflow across here, across the top for your sensor, for your hertz, as long as that matches what matches in the tune, that's all that matters. Oh, Garrett. I know, that was a brutal game last weekend. Stick your head in the sand. It was no fun. Ben, glad to hear it, man. A lot of good luck with the AEM stuff. Had a nice conversation with AEM the other day, in fact. Unfortunately, AEM will not be coming on as a sponsor, but there's some reasons behind that. And the majority of it is a lot of the stuff that we run from AEM technically cannot be used for vehicles on the road. And so they have a precedence where they say that if a vehicle has a license plate, that they can't sponsor any parts on it. We talked about possibly doing some stuff on the truck, but since the Nova is kind of the focus right now, even though we are running literally an AEM Infinity and the Nova is outside of the emissions requirements by the federal government, don't ask. But still saying that the 300300 is one of your best ones. Brandon, I do not. AEM, chassis ground, and then just make sure that your serial is tied into the same ground as the AEM. Pin 5. Maxed out my spark table for absolute manifold pressure. Should I scale my tables? How'd you max out your spark table? What does your spark table max out at? How much time in advance are you running? Ted Trotz. Sorry, I missed it. E38 ECO should I disable PE when working on VVE? Lower RPMs. Nope. Especially if you're running a wideband, there's no reason to disable PE because whenever the only thing that you need to pay attention to, though, Ted, is whenever you go into power enrichment, if your wideband has a little bit of latency on it, you will read generally some lean cells as you transition into power enrichment, especially if you have the power enrichment ramp rate really high. Because you're going from 1 suddenly to like 0.85, you will have a string of red cells in there that are not necessarily accurate. So you want to hit that same zone where the red cells are without having a hard like transition through that zone. You want to do something, hold a gear, something like that, drive up a hill, get that transition through that zone because I see a lot of times what guys do on their volumetric efficiency table is they focus on that and they're like, man, I've got this giant red spot in the middle of my VE table. I can't figure it out. And what it is commanded is going from 1 straight to 0.85 because they've ramped it out. Their PE enrichment rate is at like 1.0, which is way too advanced, way too fast. Because that thing starts at like 0.05 or something and they jack it up because somebody on an HP Tuners forum said, hey, change it to this. Well, what happens is because it goes from 1 to 0.85 instantly, you have about half a second to 1 second of the wideband catching up to your commanded, and it just rips through, and you can have up to 15-20% of lean. Anything pre-1974 is just, it's exempt, but doing a TH400 swap, do I need to find out what slick look I need? Does anybody know? Pomo, what do you have in there now? It's the same that's in the 6L80. It's less about the slip yoke. It's more about the U-joint size. What is it, 32? What's the general? I mean, Power Glide, Turbo 400, 4L80, 6L80, they're all, for the most part, Power Glide has some different ones on there, but Turbo 400 on basically all have the same slip yokes on there. If Dirtfloor's in here, he probably knows them all off the top of his head. Justin says, did the 2-bar SDOS patch for the E38 for a positive displacement blower and the main VE table disappeared? You should still have a VE table on there. May have changed the names. L38 hanging idle and parking neutral. What do you focus on to fix it? Torque tables. It's going to be, everything is torque on those. I'm looking here. I'm looking. Yeah, Schmidt head. Spark tops out 136 and you're at 169, but it's still going off the 136 row. So much stuff going on here. There you go. 32 spline for the ADE Turbo 400. 32 spline. Yeah, 32 spline is basically everything for the most part. You're in a weird boat if you're not running a 32 spline. What is that looking up here? An OS. Can a Holley Terminator X Stealth work on an LS swap and run the coil packs? Oh yeah, Wallace, he'll do it all day long. I've got it on a North Star, brother. If it'll run on a North Star, it'll run on almost any motor. Yeah, this is not a good one to look at. Jose asks, any info on the neural network? Not yet. Stay tuned. Schmidt head. I wouldn't probably scale because at that point in time you probably hit your max timing anyways whenever you're looking at, hold on, 136 cylinder air mass. Above 136 cylinder air mass, you don't really have any room to advance timing beyond that point. So you're probably fine sticking right into it. 1350, 1410. A lot of different U-joints run with that spline combination. Don't automatically assume it's a 1350. Could be a Spicer or an AAM U-joint. Garrett, generally, if your idle is high and your timing is low, look at timing at idle. That's an indication that your torque value is too high, and it's trying to pull timing because of that. You'll see a lot of time on 5th gen stuff whenever the torque value is in idle area and just on the fringes of idle is too high. You will have even negative timing at idle. That is an indication that your torque values in the virtual torque tables are too high. So bring those back a little bit. What are your thoughts about running idle on a 3rd gen with a big cam under speed density power enrichment? I'm not sure what you're talking about, Rockroll. Hey, N2LS. Have a good one, brother. Can you split TAC signals between 2 computers? One for factory TAC age and the others. Biker Boy, you probably can. If I remember right. Idle is fine, but when you rev it, it hangs around 2,000. So look at your torque values in 2,000 and make sure they're not too high. If it is hanging, your torque values are too high, you need to drop those values down. It happens a lot on cam setups. Is an LS easier to tune than a small block Ford turbo setup on Holly? Everything's easy to tune on Holly. I can't say that. I've not done a Coyote tune on a Holly, but the Holly is the dumbed downest, simplest way to tune a EFI motor ever created. I've gone through tuning software for probably, I don't know, 5 to 10 different standalone ECU setups on there, and the Holly is the easiest. But it's also the most simplistic, and it has the least amount of features. Even the Dominator is way behind almost every competition out there. Does torque stuff you were just talking about affect my IO? Torque stuff only is going to affect 5th gen stuff. So if you're on a 5th gen, 2014 plus areas, probably. Holly is the easiest thing to tune from standalone. As Dirt Floor said, though, it doesn't have Lambda, which can be a pain if you're doing flex fuel stuff. But if you were to take a setup, I could take a Holly setup for about any platform and throw it on and have the car running within, one day, 4 to 6 hours at the most. It just, everything works great. At the end of the day, though, if I'm looking for a high horsepower application where I'm wanting control over specific things, I'm not going to go to a Holly. I'm going to look at Haltech. I'm going to look at Max ECU. Probably wouldn't look at AEM, even though I'm running an AEM and it does some stupid stuff. But there's a lot of platforms out there that are immensely more powerful, more flexible, which is the big thing than Holly stuff. Yeah, I'm not sure why Holly doesn't do Lambda. Because you've got to remember that Holly is bringing that data in as Lambda and then converting it to AFR. So why not just give them the option to use it as Lambda? No wideband reads an AFR out there. There's not a wideband on the face of the planet that reads AFR. Everything reads in Lambda, and then the wideband controller is converting it over to AFR. Where are we at on this drawing here? Okay, drawing's done. We're going to pick 2 winners. First winner. Brandon, you do not count. I can't say that. Is Brandon still here? I feel bad. Brandon won last weekend. Brandon's the first. Brandon, how many times have you won a drawing? How many times have you won, Brandon? You probably want the hoodie, though, don't you? And I would feel bad about not giving you the opportunity to win the hoodie. 4 times? Okay, I tell you what. Brandon, I'm going to send you a hoodie. But I'm still going to draw 2 more winners. How's that sound? Does that sound fair to everybody? I'm going to give Brandon the hoodie. And I'm going to give 2 more people a hoodie. I don't care. It's Thanksgiving. It's Black Friday. All that stuff. Okay. Brandon, you have to email me your size and color. And everybody else that's about to win here. Hold on a second. Let's go over here. Let me switch screens so I can show you what I'm talking about. So if we go over to GoatRopeGarage.com. Here's where you gotta go. Gotta go over here. Shirts. Boop, 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 boop. Okay, so we're doing Smoke Monster hoodies. All these stupid pop-ups. So, listen. Small to 4XLT. You got dark gray, blue, light gray, red. Okay, so let's draw. Let's do. We got 2 more drawings. I gotta find my window here. Brandon, you're terrible. Okay. Next drawing. Budget Outlaws. Congratulations. Is Budget still here? Pretty sure I just saw him post up. Gotta be here, Budget. I hope you're still here, Budget. Okay, Budget Outlaws, you won a hoodie. And last but not least, Biker Boy, congratulations. Brandon, Budget Outlaws, Biker Boys, you guys know the drill. Send me an email, info@goatropegarage.com. Give me your size, your color. I'll get them ordered up. Takes probably, it'll probably be after Christmas, to be honest with you. Because it takes 2 or 3 weeks for these stuff to get printed out and shipped out to me, and then I'll get them shipped off to you. So, but all that being said, make sure and check out the merch page. Check out goatropegarage.com. We got the Black Friday sale going on right now. GRGBF is the code, discount code. So if you want to support the channel, go buy a t-shirt. Don't buy a Peloton's Triumphs t-shirt, but other than that... Well, Biker Boy, you have been here for a long time. You've been supporting the channel for a long time, so I'm glad to see you won. And I'll be honest with you, Budget Outlaws, sponsor the channel. That has no basis on it. Anybody's eligible to win, so I appreciate everybody with the green name tags on here because they're paying $2 a month to be a member of the channel. Like, everybody that does stuff like that, that's what allows me to keep on making this content. So, this is Thanksgiving. I want to thank everybody that's a subscriber, everybody that's a patron, everybody that is a member on the YouTube. You guys, I appreciate all your help. I want to thank guys like Dirt Floor out there that take the time to come in here and moderate our live shows. Honestly, it blows my mind. And I love everything to death about what we do here. I get a lot of questions about, hey, how's the YouTube stuff going on? I was like, the cool thing about what we do here is we don't get 50,000, 100,000 views out there. We get 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 views from people that are interested in this information because they want to learn. And we're spreading the knowledge around. And honestly, the only reason that we've made it this long, that we've got this much knowledge out there is because guys like you, guys and girls, are showing up, asking the questions, starting the conversations, keeping the ball rolling on this stuff. And so, you know what? You guys are the best. You know the drill. Thanks for stopping by the garage. ABT, always be tuning. See if I can get to the end screen. I missed it. There it is.